So I mentioned earlier that I'd tell you where I was later. Well, now is later. I'm on a site that's run by a bushcraft company, Woodland Ways Bushcraft and Survival, and they're a company that was set up by a gentleman by the name of Jason Ingemels, and he has been interested and studying the subject for decades, ever since he was a child, and is now one of the foremost leaders in this subject in the country. So what can you do here? Well, too much for me to tell you. You need to look on their website, but you can learn how to live comfortably in this environment, right from the Stone Age, Neolithic period, through the decades, right up to now. And subjects, well, everything from flint knapping to basket making to building shelters, lighting fires, animal tracking and awareness. The list just goes on and on. You can come as individuals, you can come as groups, you can come as families. So, why am I here? Well, I spent all my time as a child wandering the woods. I never understood my environment. I couldn't tell you what the trees and the plants were. I didn't know about the wildlife. Oh, I knew what a rabbit was because we were poor and my granddad used to go out and catch them with his ferret and then we'd eat them. So yeah, I did know a little bit about wildlife, but it was only in later life, when I finished my working career, that I really had the time to come and immerse myself in this subject. And when I say immerse, it's not really immersing, because I only do it now and then, you know, once a week, every couple of weeks. You know, I might be out wandering the woods trying to put some of the knowledge into practice. But the good thing about coming with this company is the instructors are so knowledgeable, and it's no good coming here if you got this Rambo attitude to life, you know, oh, I want to be in the woods and I want to kill animals and yeah, all this survival stuff. No, this is not what this company is here to do. It's here to give you initially a grounding in the subjects you might be interested in, like those that I mentioned earlier. So I've been coming along here and having one or two courses, and I'm now going to start going on the expeditions they do as well, which are various types of expeditions. They can take you different parts of the world doing different things. Again, you need to look on their website to see what's available. And the great thing about coming here is, as I said, you know, they take this subject seriously, but they make it fun as well. The instructors are highly knowledgeable. They have to do a 4-year apprenticeship, and Jason will tell you that when they finish that 4-year apprenticeship, they then start learning, because this is a subject that you can learn for the rest of your life and you will still only touch the surface of the subject. But yeah, I'm sort of touching the surface almost a little bit, and I've been given the opportunity to come out here and use this site just to practice some of those skills. And I say skills because I'm not skillful at anything, you know. I could say I'm not a master of anything, but I am an enthusiastic amateur. So, as well as putting the skills I've learned here into practice, I'm also just enjoying the environment, and I'm so lucky with the weather today as well. It's gorgeous. So if you are interested in this type of thing and you like coming living out in the woods and living a bit rough and sort of searching for your own food, bit of foraging and maybe a bit of game preparation, or just want to sit in the well, it's their little workshop where they have their shop. The little clip that I flashed on earlier as I popped in actually to pick up the skillet I was cooking on last night. I do try to buy things from them to help support the business, because I think it's very important that a business like this prospers and is there for the young people of tomorrow. So yeah, I'm going to potter around here, have a little bit of fun, and I'll be hopefully putting into practice in in my amateurish way some of the stuff that their instructors have taught me. So yeah, let me get on with it, and we'll chat later. Well, I've had my lunch, well, a little bit of a snack, because I'll be eating in a few hours' time. So the next thing is to get the fire going again. If you come on one of Woodland Way's courses and you happen to be required to use cutting implements, knives, axes, anything like that, along with all the other safety briefings, they'll focus on knife safety, axe safety. And one of the first things they teach you is, if you're going to take your knife out your scabbard, don't grip it like that. This is a pretty solid one, so I probably wouldn't do myself any harm, but if you've got a leather one that's seen better years, grabbing it like that, you could pull the knife out, I'm not going to do it, and slice your hand. So that's the first thing they told me not to do, which I did, of course. And so just hold it on the sides with your fingers, release it, and then the knife comes out easily enough. And something familiar with me with sailing. There's a rule in sailing, the winch handle. It's only two places it should be. It should be in your hand or in its holder. And the same more or less applies to your knife. So if you're not using it, it always wants to be back in your holder. Don't go around sticking it in trees and bits of wood and stuff like this, because that's not the right way. So we're going to put it back in the holster for a minute. Now before you put it in the holster, the other thing they teach you is make sure you know the blade has gone inside the scabbard before you push it home. Because if you're just talking away and you stick it in, you might find yourself sticking it in yourself. So keep your eye on it, make sure the point's in, and then click it into place. Once that's done, you can concentrate on anything else you want to do. Now, one thing that I am absolutely useless at is trying to make these curly things. What I'm supposed to have here, and this is probably not the ideal piece of wood, I'm supposed to have cut down, have a really nice big curl at the end, and then carry on another big curl. And the idea is that you end up with a lot of surface area, which makes it easier to ignite. Now I've made a bit of a mess of this one. I was doing it yesterday. I don't know if you've got a clip of that. I was doing this, and today I'm using a slightly different method. Instead of moving the knife around, I'm locking the knife in place there, and I'm pulling the wood towards me. So I don't want that suddenly to go like that, but it won't really go any further than that without me dropping it. So I lock that in place, and this hand is moving all the time away from the wood. It could do to be a little bit longer, but anyway, we'll just do one just to, yeah, like that. So I don't remember all the rules that they might have told me. So I just work on the principle all the time of just make sure the knife cannot go into any part of your body, especially down here anywhere, because we've got arteries in there, and if you hit the wrong one you'll be dead within, well we could say minutes, but it'll be a bit longer than that. But yeah, me pressing my locator beacon is going to do me no good whatsoever. So I know I'm a bit of a funny bugger about health and safety, because in some cases in my previous life I felt it was a little bit excessive, but in stuff like this it's important to get things right. To get these sticks, now I have not done just going over here to get the axe, I have not actually done an axe workshop shop. So, and again with the axe, always keep the cover on unless you're using it, and make sure you remember where you put it afterwards. So I'm not going to chop this up because this is one of Woodland Way's already prepared pieces of wood, but the important thing is never to put yourself in a position where this can come swinging through and hit you. You know, want none of this sort of business like this, because before you know it, you only have one leg, and all you'd be good for is getting the part of Long John Silver in pantomimes. So we always want to be aiming, and I've only learnt this from books, and I've never had any professional instruction, so I do need some. Is make sure that that is going to come down into there, not down here. And the other thing is, you don't want it going into the ground, because all you're going to do is blunt the edge on your axe. So this would be an ideal piece of wood to split, and I would simply pick it up like that and knock it down, and it would split, and then probably have to give it another one. And when it splits, just don't twist the axe, just twist the wood. And the idea of this as well is, if you can see this little knobbing on the end here, it leaves your knuckles free. So you're not, whatever you're doing, you're not, put that in there, when you bring it down, you're not trapping your knuckles. So, but I'm not going to chop that bit of wood up because it's not mine. If I was going to do something, I'll go out and find my own wood. Right, well, we'll just cut that bit for me to go and get some wood. I say, this is my wood. It's not Woodland Way's. That is not strictly true, because this is the wood that I nicked off my mate. So I'll just try and chop it in half with this one. Again, I'll put that up the other end of there, so that when I bring the axe down, it's going to go into there. I'm not very good with this thing. Stand by for blood. Right, you know what I always say? Quit while you're winning. So we split that safely. I'm going to put the axe away, because for what I'm doing I don't actually need it. Just put that down there for a minute. Now, Woodland Ways, instead of me having to go look for a little log, they've carved one. They've got a little mallet here, which is perfect. Now, I've got several knives, and I brought this one because it's a very cheap one, a Mora, but my favourite knife is a little bit wider grind on it. It's not as good for trying to do this stuff with, but it doesn't have a full tang. That is to say, the blade does not go to the end of the handle. So if I start hitting this with this mallet, I could end up breaking the blade. So, right, that's back in there. So I brought this knife, and this is a one-off. I had a colleague I worked for, I've mentioned this in a previous video, Marcin, and he's a nice Polish gentleman, and he likes playing around making knives. And he gave me this one and told me to, well, he gave me as a thank you for the training I gave him. I don't know, all he had to do was sit there and listen to me waffling for 5 days, but anyway. So he made this for me. He didn't make the sheath, I had the sheath, and it's got a full tang. And he said, use it to destruction and tell me if it lasts. Well, I nearly did, because I was in Namibia about 1.5 years ago, and I don't know what this log was I was trying to split open, but I got the knife into it and I could not for the life of me get it out. I ended up damaging all the wood on the top here, but anyway, the blade's still intact, so here we go. So this is a safer way of doing this. I'm just going to kneel further back so I'm well clear of it. There we go. So that works quite well for that, because what we're not supposed to do is what I used to do when I was 10 years old, when my mother would say, go on now, Alan, get outside and get some sticks chopped for fire. And my idea was that, you know, you had your axe and you took a swing, and then at the last minute you took your fingers away and hoped you hit it in the middle. I must have been lucky, because I was using that system till I was about 16 when I left home to join the army. So luckily I've got all my fingers. Anyway, like I say, anything I don't know about knife safety, I just try to err on the side of caution, and I'd advise you to do the same. Just remember, as long as the blade is well clear, and don't be doing any of these things if there's people close to you. You know, you don't want to be going waving this knife around like this, or the axe, if there's people nearby. Some things you could probably do with people. That little movement there I was doing, if people sat, you know, a few feet away, probably be safe. But no, if make sure you've got a safe area. They talk about I believe something like a triangle of safety on your body here, which you have to protect. See, they've taught me, but I don't remember it all. But I do know, just don't get any of these blades anywhere near this and you should be fine. Anyway, I'm going to crack on now and get some firewood done and get this fire started, because I want to do some char cloth. And while I'm doing the char cloth, or getting the fire going, I'll just show you a little clip of me yesterday trying to get some char cloth lit using flint and steel to start the fire with. Now, the char cloth that was in my little tin over there, I did it in my greenhouse, and I had flames coming out of my straw and everything first time. In fact, I had to run out of the greenhouse before I set fire to something. So yesterday it just wasn't working. I kept getting a little ember, but by the time I got anywhere near doing something with it, it had gone out. So to start the fire, we reverted to the what was it, the fatwood shavings. So yeah, you can have a quick look at me chipping away at that, and I'll get this fire going. And now we've got an ember, and that is the first time I've ever done that without a little bit of assistance just to finish off. helping me pull the bow. It was hard that because the bow was initially, it went too slack and it came off the string, and then it was a little bit too tight, so I was really struggling to push the bow. So getting the tension on this bit here correct is essential. Now, if I look surprised, I didn't, well, I have got some stuff prepared that I can maybe get a flame going with, but let's just say that I wasn't 100% confident. I spent a whole 2 days on a course a few weeks ago learning how to do this along a lot of other things, and you could say that, as I said, I never managed it just solely on my own without somebody, well, the instructor Davey assisting, pulling the other end. He's going, go now, full speed, go, and I'm going, fucking hell. Excuse my language, but yeah, that's how I felt. Well, while that's blowing, the good thing is, once you get an ember, it'll burn for a while, so you don't have to rush like a madman trying to get something. Let's go find something I prepared earlier. Oh, quick, in front of the fire. Oh, I put that upside down and then slap some stuff on it. Right, now I'm going to be honest with you, that was the second ember. I managed to get 2. The first one went out. I don't know if the grass was a little bit damp from the night or what, but so what I did was I needed something in the bundle that would catch easier, so I put a few fat wood shavings in there, put my ember on top of them. I didn't think it was going to go. I went outside to get a bit of fresh air and blowing through it, and it suddenly took. So the important thing we've learnt from that, and I know that my instructor Davey, when he did it, he'd got some flammable stuff off, I don't know what they're called now, anyway, off reeds out of the wetlands or whatever. We'll let somebody else explain what that is, which took relatively easily. I was just using plain old grass and a little bit of straw, and it wasn't enough. But I walked out there wafting it like that, thinking another failure, and suddenly it burst into life. So yeah, second attempt. Oh. I'm not happy because I wanted it on the first attempt, but learning takes time. Well, I thought while I was faffing about here, having a bit of a break, I'd let you have a look at my latest piece of, I say latest piece of equipment, I've had it a while, I've used it a couple of times. In a video I did, well, it was a video split into 5 parts called Surviving Scotland, and in one of the parts I cut down a dead oak tree. Now, I'm not talking a full oak tree, I'm talking the stump of a young one that had died, and it was probably about this wide. And once I got it down, I decided to saw it into logs, but all I had was this, which is the Baco Laplander. Absolutely brilliant piece of equipment, this. It just goes through everything like butter. But it is not suitable for something that big. And I always said I'd get myself some sort of bow saw. There's the traditional type, which some of you will be familiar with, but I wanted, you know, something light, a little bit simpler. And I found this, and this is, I'll just take these out before I drop them, and I'll tell you what these are later. This is the Aqua Canyon Boreal 21 folding saw. Now, it's very light, and I can't remember what weight I weighed it at when I got it out of the packet the first time, but I'll pop it on the bottom of the screen later. So how do we get into this? Well, we open the handle like that, and then bring the handle round to there, and then be very careful so we don't cut ourselves. Remove that all the way around. We just keep opening it up until we get to this point here, and here we have a notch, which that goes into there. Now, this is the bit where you've got to be really careful with your fingers, because it's best to have a flat palm, because when this snaps in, you wouldn't want your fingers in there. And it's just a lovely tool. So I don't need to use it at the moment, but we'll just take it outside, and I'll just saw a bit of a log off to just show you it in action. Right, so let's give it a go. Now, I should point out that the size of log I was talking about, that I was trying to do with the Baco Laplander, was about this size, in fact a little bit bigger even, but this will do for demonstration purposes. Somebody once taught me the safe way to use a saw, whether it be one of these bow saws or just the Laplander, is to put your hand over there. So it's supposed to be safer. Personally, I just don't like my hand anywhere near the saw, so if I can put it over here well out of the way, and these two uprights here, the V, is going to prevent it from springing across there, and any other way that could happen would be just my plain stupidity, so we'll try to avoid that. So we're going to set off with some nice gentle strokes, a bit like doing the bow drill. Now, there may be people out there, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are experienced woodsmen that will be able to do this a lot more efficiently than me. When I was at school, my worst subject was woodwork. I was so bad that my woodwork teacher occasionally used to throw mallets at me. Can you imagine that nowadays? But it's going through quite nicely. It's quite wet as this wood, so probably making it a bit harder, but there we go. One of the things I was told, and I was making that mistake there, was don't push so hard on the downstroke. just do the cutting on the backstroke. Is that right? Like I said, I'm no woodsman, and I got an E in woodwork, so who knows? Yeah, so let's pop back inside and I'll tell you what that little packet was for. Now this little bag here, I bought this as an extra. Let me show you. What we've got in there is some spacers, 2 pins and two spring clips, and that is something that could be very important. Now let me open it up first and then I'll show you what they're for. Now, as when I close this, you've got to be very careful when you open it, so I'm going to put it that way around, I think, and just be aware that you don't want anybody standing in front of you here, because when this spring goes, if I'm not holding it, it could be very dangerous. So I'm going to ease it out and then I'm going to try and get a grip of it, and I felt it go there. Now if that came out of my hand, that would have shot off like that, and it wouldn't have been very good if you happen to be stood the other side of the table. So what those 2 clips are for, I'll bring this over there, have a look. So you can see the spring clip there and the pin, the same on that end, that hold the saw blade in. Now I have heard stories of people been out in the wilderness and this being an essential piece of kit, they've suddenly lost the spring clip or even the pin as well. But either way, with the clip missing, there's not a lot you can do with it. So it's advisable to always carry a spare. Other than that, I haven't seen any criticism of this. So I'll just put it away, and to put it away we just reverse what we did before. Let's pull the handle round there, turn it round there very carefully, making sure that we don't get ourselves injured. Now this bit here, and it's maybe because it's new, is a little bit stiff, so I'm just going to give it a helping hand there. Then the blade goes in there, that bit goes in there, and then we simply close the handle down. No springy clippy at all doing that. And then I'm going to pop it back in the sheath, and this particular sheath has got another compartment inside it which you can put a spare saw blade in, or you might want a different type of blade than the one that's fitted. Those are options. But yeah, so I love this piece of equipment. That's only the 3rd time I've cut any wood with it, but yeah, it's just a handy thing to have at home for doing those little bigger jobs that you might require. So yeah, get yourself one. Oh, if you want to know where I got it, I bought it from the Bushcraft store. That's somewhere in the UK down south. Yeah. Right, next thing, let's get tea on. There's a lesson to be learnt here. If you're going to cook your tea, get your fire right first. I got distracted and didn't take care of my fire management. Came in starving, ready for my tea, and it was nearly out, so I've had to put more coals on it. Consequently, I've got all this smoke. So not only will the tea be smoked, so will I. What I wanted was some nice glowing embers, but that's my fault. Lesson learned. Well, I finished dinner. This tin has got some rolls of cotton and rolled up in it, and I'm trying to make charcloth. I've never done it myself, so I'm standing by because that smoke pouring out of there or suddenly catch fire, and I need to put it out. I've no idea how this is going to go, because the last time we did it were under the supervision of an instructor who probably knew what temperature the coals should be and how fast it should burn, but we'll give it a bit of trial and error and see what happens. You don't have to use a tin that shape. A lot of people use the old treacle tins, the round tins, but that just happened to be what the instructor gave me to make mine with. And if it doesn't work, then probably it means that the cotton material that I've been using maybe isn't pure cotton. It's probably got some synthetics in it. But anyway, I'll get this done, and then at some stage, probably when we get home, or even tomorrow morning, we might just see whether it'll take a spark or not. Well, morning. Might not be warm morning where you are, but it's morning here. And I've got up, I've had breakfast, packed some of the stuff away, because I didn't want to leave the tarp and everything out because it's forecast rain later, so while everything's dry, get it away. Last night we sort of finished off by having something to eat and doing the char cloth. And as I said at the time, I've never sort of done this on my own before. I did it once under supervision, so I had no idea how it comes out. I think it's something you've got to do trial and error with. I didn't show you the end product last night. I was waiting for the smoke to stop coming out of the hole in the middle. When that stops coming out, then it's probably nearly ready. As I say, not everything always goes in here. So at that point I got a telephone call from a very nice lady who's studying here as an apprentice, and she rang me up to ask me how I was getting on and how things are going. And I mentioned that I was in the process of doing this, and she was talking through some extra tips she'd been given, and then she said, and as soon as you've got the stick in the hole in the top, and I went, what? And then I remembered, as soon as you take it off and it stops smoking, you get a stick the right size of the hole and you put the stick in, and that keeps it cooking. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm going to have to get more detailed instruction on this, because she mentioned one or two other things that Jason, the boss, chief instructor and everything, he'd sort of give her about this when she was trying to do it. Not going to bore you with that now, but yeah, there is a lot more to think about when you're doing this than what I did. The question is, did it produce char cloth? So we'll have a look in here, and I was trying, I'll bring it over there and see if you can see it. I was trying, difficult to see, isn't it, with the light. Let's tilt the camera a bit downwards and get some light on it. So I was trying some rolls and some flat pieces. What the best way to fold them up is, well, it's a case of trial and error, and probably one of those things that you learn from experience. So the next thing I need to do to see if it is any good is get a spark into it and get a little ember going. So what I'm going to do is zoom the camera in, and we'll have a look and see if we manage to get one or not. There we go. Straight away we've got an ember. I'm going to put it on there and let it react with that other one, and pick them both up. Well, I'll pick them and blow into them, but I'll just hold them here. As you can see, that would be enough to start a fire with. I'm glad that worked the second time, because the first time I did it, I put some char cloth in the bottom of the tin, some on the edge of the flint, and it went on about the 10th strike, and I got an ember on the bottom of the stuff in the tin and on the one that I had resting on the edge of the flint. Perfect demonstration, and some muppet had forgot to switch the camera on just when I said everything was going perfectly. Anyway, the way that took, that tells me that the material I'm using for this is excellent. So, knowing that, what I'm going to do is make some more. But that's going to have to wait till I get home, because I don't want to start this fire now, because it's all died out and I want to leave it this side with no fire burning. I will be checking it's safe before I leave. Right, I'm going to go off, do whatever else I'm going to do this morning, and then we'll see when it's time to go. Oh, before I go for this walk, when I said yesterday there was 4 things I was taking with me, there was actually 5. There was one important thing I forgot. I always have my whistle with me so that I can attract attention, because as you can see, I'm camouflaged. If I fall over anywhere here, nobody's going to find me. So 6 blasts on this will signal to somebody that I'm in need of help. Okay, let's go. Well, that's it. I'm on my way, and I feel that I've had a successful trip. But before I go, I just want to say it's really important that landowners are prepared to allow companies like Woodland Ways to use this environment to pass on this knowledge to the next generation. And why is that important? Well, take me. I have just demonstrated in the video a very tiny little bit of the knowledge I've learnt, and not learnt to a proficient standard probably, but on my way. And I learnt it off a person who had the knowledge, but it isn't his knowledge, and it's not the person who taught him, it's not his knowledge either. This knowledge goes back tens of thousands of years, and we're slowly losing it. It's like a language that's, once it's gone, it never comes back. So hats off to companies like Woodland Ways who are trying to keep this knowledge going forward. And I feel privileged to have been allowed to come up here and use this woodland. And I have, while I've been here, met the landowner who popped in to see, I think he popped in to see who this commoner was on his land, to be honest, but you know, I mean, I maybe don't look that posh. But anyway, he was really nice, and he's an enthusiastic, I don't know, he's enthusiastic about the environment, you know, and so he's encouraging Jason at Woodland Ways to get the most out of this land. So that's it. Let's get on these courses. If you've got the slightest interest in being on the outdoors, I should point out lastly that don't come and expect life to be comfortable. The very first survival course I went on, there was 14 of us, and it was 3 days, and on the first night it rained a little bit, and in the morning 3 of them quit because they said it was uncomfortable. So immerse yourself fully in what they're trying to do here, and just go in with a can-do attitude, and don't be deterred if you fail in some of the aspects, which I have done in the past, like the bow drill, and I finally cracked it. I need a lot more practice. So yeah, that's it, let's go. And oh, them sheep, yeah, well, I'm hoping they're not on the road, because there was one big sheep and he refused to move. So I got out and I walked around the front of the car and I prodded him, and he still refused to move. I say he, it probably was it was a she, I think. And in the end I had to grab hold of its fleece and lift it and go, shoo shoo. I might have said something else, but not on camera. And then I looked over my shoulder, and one of the sheep, followed by a mate, a young one, had its paws on my driver's seat and was trying to get in. Now, I know for a fact, because I'm quite a knowledgeable fella in some things, that sheep can't drive. So after I turfed him out, I jumped back in, and that same damn sheep had gone and sat back down exactly where I just moved it from. So on that note, I shall go off and do a bit of sheep herding. See you next time.